Hey, this is Craig from Pro UTV Parts, and we're down here at beautiful Sand Hollow with Steve Benson, the mastermind behind the ultimate suspension for
And
Razor Turbo S.
and Craig asked if I would kind of explain how this goes together. What we do is, if you look into this area right in here, we take the stock sway bar out. Okay, we unbolt it. We use this bar here. It bolts to where the stock sway bar used to be. And we use the same mounting bolts, and then we add one on this side to go back in behind the seatbelt mount. And so everything is really sturdy and strong. This suspension is designed so that the trailing arms stay straight all the way through the cycle, through full droop to full compression, so you keep the width of the vehicle. In other words, when you get full droop, if you compare it to like the new Pro R, that loses 13 inches of width. This doesn't lose any. It stays the same width all the way through the travel, which gives it extreme stability in all situations. And because we've done it this way, we found that the elimination of the sway bar has not been detrimental whatsoever. It actually is very, very stable because the car stays very straight and controllable. So, but if you come around here a little bit, you can see we've also, with this system, it eliminates the radius rods. And because it's all swinging like a Class 10 truck that runs the dunes. It's a very stable suspension. This is more or less, it's not a true copy, but it's more or less like Tatum's trailing arm suspension that he has on his dune buggies, and it works extremely well. And it just works well. It works much better than the Arctic Cat version that they came out with, because Arctic Cat when Arctic Cat built their trailing arm system that they have on their machine, what they did is the axle, if you come over here, Craig, and look at this from this view here. If you look here, the trailing arm is coming to the rear of the center. It doesn't come straight across to the transmission, but it goes rearward. In other words, because of that, you're now able to swing through an arc, which makes it so that you don't have to have any extra plunge from what the axles have. But the way Arctic Cat did it, they made it come forward, and that requires a huge amount of plunge in the axle to make it even work, which is, well, it doesn't work well. Other than that, that's the system right there. Very simple, very strong, and it works.
So, Steve, what about clearance when your trailing arms are hanging up on an obstacle?
Come over here. Come over here and look at this. Hey, your normal trailing arm hooks in clear down here, okay? It's hooked in clear up here and goes back. So we've gained almost a foot of clearance in this area right here. And then at full droop, we never get below the frame.
Wow, that is a lot of clearance, Steve.
It's a huge amount of clearance.
I don't see any scratches at all on that trailing arm, and we've been out here wheeling nonstop for 3 days at Sand Hollow, and there's not a scratch.
And he's had this out weeks and weeks besides that. So
not a scratch anywhere on those trailing arms. That's fantastic.
It just works well. The one thing you will have to do if you do this trailing arm system, because we angle the shocks more, what you're going to have to do is you'll have different spring tensions for your shocks. Because they're angled more, you need more spring. And other than that, you don't have to rebuild the shock or anything, just change the springs themselves.
So how is this through the whoop, Steve?
It is awesome. I mean, it is probably, of every car I've ridden in, it will take the whoops faster than anything I've been in. It reminds me a lot of my Tatum dune buggy.
How does it compare to the Pro R? I know you've got one.
The Pro R rides good, but in the moguls and in the whoops, this rides twice as good. You don't even feel the back end at all. You feel the front because it's still stock, but you do not feel the rear end at all.
Well, that's fantastic, Steve.
It does work well.
Thanks for cluing us in on the ultimate suspension.
Anytime.
All right. right, we have the ultimate suspension on this square ledge right here. See that clearance? Look at that. Okay, here's another car. It's a Turbo S Dynamics with ultimate suspension. The blue car we were just looking at was a Velocity. This is the Dynamics version of the ultimate suspension. Car's owned by Richard Pilatus. He has two cars, two Turbo S's, and they both have the ultimate suspension on them. Front suspension is completely stock. As you can see, that's stock Turbo S suspension on the front. That's all that's required. And on the back right here, there's the other side of the ultimate suspension.
What are you doing?
Oh, here's Richard right here.
What are you doing? Examine my love here?
What do you think of this ultimate suspension, Richard?
I love it. I had to have it for my other machine.
And what is different about this after you put it on?
It's just so smooth. You don't bottom out, just glides. You never drag. You never drag.
What do you mean by you never drag?
Well, you never are hitting back here where you're going to drag and hook a rock. My other ones, the ones I took off, they were just shiny.
What do you mean shiny?
Just underneath, dragging from hitting the rock. You don't even see the paint off these.
How long have you had them on here, Richard?
A year.
You've had this suspension on a year?
Yeah.
Let's see what the bottom of these trailing arms look like.
You won't see a mark on it. You won't see a mark on them.
Well, that's after a year of driving Sand Hollow, Utah on some of the toughest trails in the nation. That's incredible. That is incredible, Richard. Not a scratch on there. Maybe one little blemish, but I mean, a year out here in this place, this is nuts out here.
Yeah. Well, if you saw my old ones, they're just shiny.
Wore all the paint,
Wore all
powder
the
coat,
paint,
everything
powder
right
coat
off.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right.
Easy to put on. As long as
Okay.
you got the right guy giving you the right spring tension and stuff.
Well, that'd be me at Pro UTV Parts.
Yeah, Pro UTV Parts.
Thanks, Richard.
And I didn't get paid yet.